A few years ago, I participated in a National Coming Out Day celebration held by the church I worked for as a religious educator. The focus of this event was telling our stories, and it opened with a group of people, myself included, who one after another stated our names and what we did and what age we were when we came out as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender, as well as to whom. My experience of this, representing my faith, identifying as a lesbian, and a religious educator, was a powerful one. But this identity was not always so easily shared. I knew I was gay 5 years before I told anyone. The conservative, Southern, Catholic culture I was immersed in, there were few safe places to explore this identity. And though we had never talked about it, I feared it would break my parents' hearts. So I kept my silence. What exactly do we mean when we say coming out? Often, this is associated with telling people our secrets. But I don't think it's just about telling people. It's also about living in your identity, which is something that you do every day and something that is always changing. Knowing yourself, ultimately, is an internal process. But who do you choose to share this with? That, to me, is the real coming out question. It is a certain kind of equation in my head balancing vulnerability and authenticity. When is the importance of authenticity worth the risk of vulnerability? I think this is a universal question in all relationships. Where does the balance lie? Now, secrets, we know, are not just for gay people. Everyone struggles with secrets. Secrets of illness, depression, anxiety, religious doubt, relationship struggles, abuse, unspoken hopes and desires, and more. The secrets in the world take many forms. We all have a story to tell that no one knows, ways in which we yearn to be seen. And always, we seek to balance our feelings of vulnerability with desire for authentic, holistic living. There is a cost to not sharing yourself openly with the people you love. For me, the cost was isolation from the rest of my life, my friends and family, while keeping up the facade of not being any different. I swallowed those parts of myself and grew in fear that who I was would never be accepted by those I loved most in the world. There is, of course, also a cost for telling your secrets. My parents and I spent years at odds, unable to hear each other. What was once a very close relationship was torn into pieces we had to pick up, and over the decades we have reconciled. But more importantly, I am reconciled. The cost of not telling my secret to those I loved was so high that in the end it was a price I couldn't pay. But I have continued to come out over and over in new ways, to live into my story, even the secret parts of it. When I first felt the pull to ministry, I was afraid to tell anyone. I had even said that I would never go to seminary. Who was I to have such a big dream for myself? Who would believe me? When I told my parents I had applied to seminary, I was almost as nervous as when I told them I was gay more than a decade before. I had changed so much, but that fear was still so real. The fear that if I were to share all of who I am with those I love, that they wouldn't understand, that they would turn away from me. But my desire to live what Parker Palmer called an undivided life, to be who I really am, was greater than that fear. Because there's a funny thing about secrets. The things that I struggled to share with my family and friends were not bad things. Sometimes it is the keeping of the secret, and not the secret itself, that is most destructive. In fact, those identities are intrinsic to who I am as a human and worthy of celebration. Of course, not all secrets are secrets that we can celebrate. Many revolve around traumatic experiences and difficult memories. Sometimes the things that we keep hidden from the rest of the world, we hide out of shame. But those who have stepped out of that shame and shared their stories can tell you that though there is great risk involved, sharing these parts of their stories in a place that felt safe and to a person who was trusted is a tremendous step on the road to healing. Likewise, anyone who has long harbored a secret or kept part of themselves hidden knows that over time, the weight of that burden grows. For myself, when I think about this process of unfolding over the years, of peeling back the layers of who I wasn't, and learning to love my whole self, my whole identity, the only word I can use to describe this is reconciliation. Reconciliation comes from the Latin, means to bring back together. And there's another word whose Latin roots are very similar. That word is religion, from the Latin religare, to bind back together. So this is what religious community offers us, one of its most unique gifts, to be vulnerable, to be seen, to hold each other as we peer deeper into ourselves and our biggest questions. This takes trust in each other's promises. Here, we call that covenant. And it has been as a person of faith, one tied to a spiritual community, that I've experienced the most healing and wholeness. Religious communities, just like this one, offer us a place to be broken and whole together, to lay out all the pieces of our lives and examine them, to test our truth in a place where there is deep trust and where grace is abundant. Put simply, in covenantal relationships, we are seen.